Hey guys, I am Sharon Tillman here. Happy Tuesday. I hope everyone is having an amazing day on today. Listen, week 2 of Get Rooted was amazing. Okay, I have to come on here and just update you guys before we jump right in, right? It was so good. So, here in my area, it was raining very, very hard yesterday. I mean, like all day long, right? And so, as a facilitator, and I'm driving to the location, it takes me about 30 minutes to get there. So as I'm approaching the time, I'm in my mind like, oh, I just really hope the people show up, right? Because sometimes, I don't know about y'all, but sometimes for me, the rain be making me lazy. Like it be like really making me tired. Like I don't know, it's just like something about rainy weather that it's getting dark out because of the clouds and the rain and it makes you want to like curl up and not do nothing. Maybe that's just me. Maybe y'all don't have that struggle, right? But as I'm getting dressed, I'm like, please let the people show up tonight. Because I don't know if the people feel like me. And they feel like whenever the rain comes, it's a good reason to stay home. But can I just tell you that every lady was in the room on last night? Shout out to the Get Rooted crew, okay? Shout out to the Get Rooted crew. I absolutely love that for all of them. But everybody showed up last night and it was amazing. Like it was raining outside and it was raining inside as well because the people came in vulnerable and open and they were ready. I love when people have consciously made a decision to say, this is what I'm going to do. I want to be better. I want to be healthy. Um, I want to be the very best version of who I've been called to be, right? I think a lot of times when we don't have that made up mind, it can be wavery. And sometimes we make up our mind and we know what we want to do. We just need to apply the application. But in this case, when you know you want a different outcome, you get up and you do something different. And so I'm excited that for every group that I've done thus far, I have had ladies who was like, you know what? I don't want to take this time or this opportunity for granted. I am here to get rooted. I want to be better. I want to find, I want to be able to identify the healed version of myself, and I want a vision of what she looks like. I want to be the best version of who I've been called to be. So I'm so excited for every lady who is a part of the Get Rooted group. Listen, I love that for them. I honestly do because you've made up your mind that this is what you want to do and you are doing it. So shout out to you. Shout out to you girls, all of you ladies who did not let that rain stop you from coming to Get Rooted. So I just wanted to start there. Listen, I told them, I was like, I'm shouting y'all out on my podcast tomorrow because, listen, y'all did not come to play. And I appreciate that. Okay? I appreciate it. So here we are. I love that. I love that. What are your thoughts? What are your takes on the episode from last week? Like it was such a heavy episode from last week. Um, and I want your feedback. I want your feedback. Remember to leave comments. Remember to like it. Remember to share it. I really need you to do all of these things for the algorithm, but also like for people that you know can benefit from it in any type of way. I would love for you to share it to someone that you feel like would help. Share it to someone who you feel like needs it in the moment. This is all about my journey, but I know that in me giving you my journey and me telling you about the things that I've been through in my life, how you guys can easily identify with it within your own journeys. What are some of the things that are similar? What are some of the things that look like something you've dealt with or something that you're dealing with? What are some of the things that you've never been able to identify before that now you have a very clear vision or a very clear picture about? What do those things look like for you? What is it that you're doing? So I want you to think about it as you're listening, as you're dissecting. as you're observing, I want you to take what you need to identify with your own journey so that you can see not just exactly where you are, but exactly where you're going, right? So if we pick up from where we left off last week, I gave you guys the third thing, which was the very traumatic thing that we went through in order to demise our relationship, basically, right? I talked about John leaving, John's sister coming to pick him up, all of the things going with John leaving the house, and how things were going to be moving forward. I left off the last episode letting you know, like, how I felt. I've been a good girl. I've been with John all of my life, it seems like, right? So I'm in my mid 30s at this point, and I met John in high school. So I've been with John for half of my high school years, half of my teens, all of my 20s, half of my 30s. At this point, I've been with John over half of my life. And all I knew was being with John. Like, that's all I knew. I remember even getting with him. If you go back a few episodes and I talk about even us getting together, I remember us even getting together and some of the longings that I have, some of the things that I needed or the things that I desperately wanted that he represented, right? So all I can remember is always being with him when I put all of the other things out of my brain, because clearly I didn't have a great childhood growing up. So John was supposed to be like that piece of the puzzle for me that changes the trajectory of my life and the way that it's going from there. It was one of those things where it was like, this is how my life has been thus far. Now I'm seeing it from a different picture. I've got a different part. Now this particular event, this relationship is taking me down a different road. So I'm no longer going to travel down that same road anymore. There's a new road. So clearly, a new road comes with better opportunities, better lights, better stop signs, better pavement roads, like just a lot of things that I've gone through. I shouldn't have to go through on this new road because I've chosen a new road, right? It's almost like when we've been through things in our life and we feel like because we've been through things in our life that the world owes us something. Life owes me for giving me such a messed up set of hands. It's almost like I'm a spade player. Where my players at? Like, listen, we get down at the spade table. You feel me? Well, we don't play about that, right? But it's literally almost like playing spades. And you know how you're playing spades, and if you get that good hand, right? If you get a good hand, then it's like, I got a good hand. Like, I'm about to run this table. But if you don't get a great hand, it's like, I'm going to still play the cards, but I can't help how the cards fall, right? So if we're thinking about life and we're thinking about the cards that we've been dealt, it's like we've got a bad hand and I got to play this hand, but I don't like the way the cards have fallen. And so now I feel like somebody owes me something because of the hand that I got. And that's the way that we can sometimes operate within our brain to feel like, as if it's just woe us. Sometimes we feel like nobody else in the world has been through the things that we've gone through, which is not true. Everybody may be, carrying a different cross. And I talked about that last week. Everybody might be carrying a different cross, but it definitely does not mean that they're not going through a lot of the same things. That's not what that means. It simply means that what they're carrying might look different, but we've all got things that we've had to deal with within our lives. And so for me in that moment, I'm just like, I chose this path. I told the Lord I wanted something different. I acted in the way of getting something different. So clearly, I was expecting a different outcome. Like, clearly, I wanted my marriage to work. Clearly, I never thought that I would be going through a divorce. I never, ever thought that I would be going through a divorce. I remember when I went to therapy, even after my separation, and the therapist said, Sharon, you're prideful. And I'm like, what? What? And she's like, you're prideful because you never thought Like you almost thought that you were above this. And I'm like, no, you're, it's so real because I never ever thought that I would be going through a divorce. Never thought that. Never ever thought that. Ever thought that. I never would have imagined that even, and it's funny because I knew that there were a lot of things within our marriage. I knew that there were a lot of things that I wanted better. I knew that there were a lot of things that I'm just like, okay, clearly I'm either going to choose different or I'm just stuck, right? Like I may never get this. I may never get that. Like that's just not who he is. That's just not where our relationship is. I'll just have to accept that. And I even talked about at one point I felt like that, we were going to get a divorce. Like I knew that it was going to happen. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, I didn't know what the cause would be, but I knew that it was going to happen. But I think even in the knowing of the difference between me knowing that it's going to happen and then me coming into the reality that this is happening, it was still one of those things like, I don't know if I've quite accepted that this is about to be my life. I don't know if I was there. And because sometimes we can feel like we've done all of the things, right? I've done all of the things right. I've done what I was supposed to do. I've been a good wife to John. Like, I clearly did what I was supposed to do as a wife, right? When we get to even that place where we feel like we've clearly done all of the things that we were supposed to do, it's almost like I don't deserve to be here. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be divorced. I didn't ask to go through these things, right? So when we think about all of those things, it's almost like one of those it's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, come off your high horse, like get off your pride wagon, right? And I appreciate her. Listen, this is why I'm this is why I believe in Jesus and therapy. That's number one. But number two, this is why I believe in the transparency and the honesty of when people walk into my therapy session, whether it be in person or virtual, when they walk into that session with me, they are looking for me to tell them the truth. They're looking for me to be honest with them. They're looking for that. Because I could be another person who just listens to them. I could be another person who chooses to hear what they're saying and know that something different is what they need and I do it. I could be that person, or I could choose to say, this is what the truth is. This is what the truth looks like, right? And so that's what she did for me. But nevertheless, I remember, just going through I remember being in that place where, yeah, we're here. And me feeling like I don't deserve to be here. I've been a good wife. I did what I was supposed to do. Let's go have some fun. Like I've been with this guy forever. I don't even know what dating in my adulthood looks like. I don't even know what I don't know what it looks like. I don't even know how to do it anymore. I can't, like, because I got married so young and I had a kid so young. But like one of those things where I'm like, I want to have fun. Like I want to go out. I want to have fun. I want to know what that feels like. Like it was almost like I deserve this kind of thing, right? I deserve it because I have been good. I deserve it because I have done the things that I feel like I was supposed to do. And so that's what I did. I remember getting with like one of my friends. She was like a long friend that I have been friends with for like a long time. And I had told her, basically what had happened, what was going on. And once she got over the shock of all of the things, because there were some people who literally thought it would be John and Sharon forever, right? And when they saw us, they was just like, oh my God, like they're such a beautiful couple. They're such a beautiful couple. Like they're always like, oh my God, they're such a beautiful couple. They're such a beautiful family. Like they just literally thought that it would be like John and Sharon forever, right? So once she was over like the shock of all of the things, like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe John. Like, I would have never even thought. Then she was like, girl, let me introduce you to the dating apps, right? And I think one thing that we do, right? We do is we feel like who got time to be going through like healing and stuff right at the beginning? Like nobody does that. Like I've been hurt, I've been mistreated. Like clearly I'm a good person, I'm a good woman, I'm a good wife, right? Like I'm moving on. There is so many other men out here who would want to have what John clearly had and didn't even recognize, didn't even realize that he had, right? This is our thought process. This is how we think. This is what we're thinking when we're going out. And not just if you're in a marriage, I think it's a relationship in general. We jump out of one relationship into another relationship or something to occupy our minds because we don't want to dwell on the hurt or the pain or the things that we've gone through. We don't even want to dwell on our part. Yeah, I said our part because a lot of times we feel like even though it wasn't our fault, even though there was infidelity and I wasn't the one that cheated, that we didn't have a contributing part that played within the relationship. Like what was the insecurity within us that was allowing it? What was the trauma that was attached to the abandonment or the rejection that kept us holding on to something that we clearly knew that we should have let go of? Like we don't want to talk about what our part was in this situation. So clearly, we don't want to acknowledge our part. We're quick to blame, and we're like we don't deserve this because we were good to them. So guess what we're doing? We're moving on. I see it every day. I see it every single day. We never take the time out to get to know who we are. We never get to know like the version of me that walked into that marriage over or over in the relationship, the version of me that walked into that relationship almost 20 years ago was not the version that walked out. The version of me that walked down the aisle wasn't even the version that walked out. Wasn't even the version that walked into the relationship. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's so many parts of it. Like I want you guys to know. So like it's like you're continuing to evolve, you're continuing to be another person, and so we're not getting to know the person that's leaving the relationships. Like one thing that I learned, and I can get into this at another time because I really want to stay on track, but one thing I learned was like what I thought that I needed wasn't really what I needed. But until I took the time out to really get to know that, I didn't know, right? So I'm with this friend. She introduced me to dating apps. All of a sudden, like I'm a hot commodity, right? It's like it's so funny because like as a married woman, like people would, like signal, people would smile, extra people, and you're friendly because you're friendly, but in your mind, like it could never be anything. So you don't even always look at it like that. You don't even always take every compliment or every you don't take it personally, right? For one, you kind of know who you are, right? But you belong to somebody. So it's like out of all of the things that I experienced within my marriage, one thing that I was for sure of is that I wasn't a cheater. Now, granted, if you listen to a couple of episodes ago, I was about to cheat, but it wasn't because that was who I was. It was because it was a response to something that I was going to do, right? So me intentionally being flirtatious and taking compliments and things that people would say personally to like hit a different part of my brain, like it wasn't like that for me at all. So when I'm on these dating apps and I'm getting like, like it's so much attention. Like I don't know if you guys have ever been on dating apps, but listen, I haven't been on a dating app since I got off. Let me be clear because it be so much, like, right? It's so much. I don't know. I'm an old school girl. I want to be in a grocery store. I want to be like in Home Depot. I always say, like, if the Lord be like, girl, get up and go to Home Depot, I'm going to beat my face up a little bit because I already know, like, I don't shop at Home Depot for real. So I'm going to be like, yeah, clearly, Lord, you're setting me up. I'm walking into it. I'm going to walk in ready, right? But I'm an old fashioned girl. I wanna meet someone that way. But I entertained it. I entertained the dating apps and I started meeting people. I started going out. I was hanging out. I was doing all of the things, right? And so I love to tell this version because I think a lot of times, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. It's nothing wrong with it. But I want you to know that that time that I took off, I enjoyed every minute of it down to the last minute. Okay? Like there was not 1 minute outside that I didn't enjoy. I say all the time, like I went outside and I was like, clearly I was like, Lord, I've been good, right? Almost like the Lord, I say it all the time. I be like, in my head, the Lord never said this, okay? The Lord never said this. But in my head, it's like the Lord, like, Sharon, I'm about to turn around because you have been good. I'm going to turn around, go on outside, enjoy yourself. Come back when I call you in, when the street lights are getting ready to come on, it's time to come in the house, no argument. Like, he never said that to me, but that's how I felt. I felt like my dad is letting me go outside to play. I can play outside clearly until the street lights come on. But when he say it's time to come in, it's time to come in. And like I operated like that, right? Because when I went outside, I would let the people clearly know, like, enjoy me while I'm out here, because I don't know how long the Lord gonna let me be out here. Like I would say it all the time, and they would laugh at me and they would think I was crazy. But I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like I don't know how long the Lord is gonna allow me to be out here. I really don't know, because I knew that that was not my life, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it because it took me away from what was really going on within my head, what I was really dealing with, what I was really not dealing with, the things that I really need to face. So I'm outside, I'm drinking, I'm clubbing. Well, I didn't really club. Let me not lie. I didn't really club. Clubbing wasn't really my thing, but I'm a dancer. So I was outside every time that somebody was having a party where I could get my dance on, she was in the building, okay? But I was going out with guys. Like I was doing all of the listen, I had my first one night stand outside. Okay? I just want to be very clear. Because it wasn't who I was. It just was not who I was. It wasn't a part of who I was. And I'm not bragging or boasting, but I am grateful that the Lord kept me. I'm so grateful that he kept me. And not only did he keep me, but he kept me in a place where it didn't forfeit who he called me to be or what he called me to. It never forfeited. Like he kept me in a place in my right mind. He protected me. Like all of the things, right? Like all of the things that needed to happen while I was outside. Like all of the things that I needed that I didn't even pray for, because clearly this is what I'm doing. The Lord was like, I'm protecting my daughter. And so that's what I want to say. Like, God is such a keeper. He's such a protector. He's such a lover of our souls. Like, he knew that I was hurting. He knew that. And I'm not saying that he gave me a pass. I'm not saying that he gave me permission, because clearly I knew better. I knew better. It was just something that I chose to do, but I knew better. So I'm out here and I'm having a great time. Like I'm enjoying myself, and I'm not even thinking about, and of course I love my kids, but my kids are going through things too. And I'm so focused on what I'm going through, and I'm so focused on being outside and enjoying myself. I'm not even focused on how they're handling all of the things that they were handling, right? And so of course they were in therapy. Of course I was still in therapy, and as I'm going through therapy and things are happening for me, like I knew that the time was dwindling. I knew that there was a time where things was shifting, and it was so many things happened. I had a leak in my house at the time, so I'm dealing with that. Like I can think of all of the things that were just going on within the time, and I'm like, clearly God, I can't hold anything else on my plate. But instead of running to him, I ran outside, because that's what we do. Like I could have went to him, and I could have threw my weight on him, because that's what he says. I could have threw my weight on him. I could have casted my cares on him, because that's what his word says, right? He says, I could have laid my burdens down, right? I could have given him all of that, right? Come to me, all you who are heavy laden, and I would give you like I could have done that because that is what his word says. But clearly, instead of doing it, I ran outside because it was easier. It's like a dopamine. I talk about the dopamine all the time, and I talk about how we love the thrill, we love the high, we love the chase of things, right? And so we love to be in the moment of that. So whenever we come back down and we got to go back to reality and we got to face life again, like clearly we're not ready to do it, which is why we don't do it in the beginning. But we go out here and we find ourselves again chasing that feeling of, I don't want to deal with the things that I'm really faced with. I don't want to deal with it. I just don't want to. And so I found myself, and I would find myself in different situations with different people, right? Like clearly, I feel like almost every guy that I met wanted to get married. Like, and I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm still married technically, right? Like I'm not, I just want to have fun because clearly I knew that anybody that I met in an alternate lifestyle was not anyone that I could sustain life with, right? And you have to be real with yourself. Like I knew that this is the fun side. Like this, you don't dwell in the fun all the time. Anybody whose life is full of fun all the time, like clearly you are neglecting some things that are very important, because there is nothing fun about life all the time. But if you're in that stance and you are having fun all the time and you enjoy every phase of your life and you're always doing all of the things, then clearly something is not right. And so I was meeting people, but I wasn't meeting anybody that I could do life with. And like clearly, even though I always knew that I wanted to get married again, I also knew that I wasn't ready. Like I got a lot of things happening with my own life. So fast forward to such a breaking point for me. It's about a year later, and my John and I are finally at the place where we are trying to finalize our divorce, right? So John left in October, and John left in October. By November or December, John was in a relationship with the woman that he was cheating on me with. What I come to find out a little later was John was in a 2-year relationship with this woman. Now, I could say a lot of different things about that, right? Where was I that I didn't know that this was happening? Well, clearly, John and I were living separate lives, right? We didn't go to the same church. Like John kind of did his thing, I kind of did mine. Like we would come together for things that we needed to do, but it was even to a point where we weren't even doing like all of our holidays together anymore. Clearly, we had grown apart and we were here for the sake of our children. That is very clear. But also like how do you maintain a 2-year relationship on top of a marriage? You know what I'm saying? So like there were so many things. What kind of, and I'm not judging her because I don't know anything about her, but I just know that the fact that you knew that he was married for 2 years and you were okay being that to him, knowing that you could never be his number one because there was a wife, right? Okay, I digress. So we are going through the phases. He leaves in October. He moves in with his sister. He leaves and go to his mom's. He moves in with his sister, and then he moves in with his girlfriend by month 3. So I'm saying this to say, like, we saw John maybe once or twice. He would call, he would cry, he would be super emotional. He wants his family back. And I'm like, you need to fight. You need to fight. If you want your family back, you better fight, right? He wanted to do counseling, which I thought was very strange, but I entertained it. I'm like, okay, let's talk to a counselor. So we go and talk to a counselor, and the counselor is asking questions. The counselor is doing things. And like clearly John would be having counseling because this is like a virtual counseling. Clearly John would be virtually having counseling at his girlfriend's house. Like, John, where you at? What background is that? Who? I've been to your mom's house. I've been to your sister's house. That ain't neither one of the houses. Like, what are we doing? right? So it was almost like a joke because clearly the Lord had already given me permission to walk away. So why was I even entertaining counseling when I knew within me that I didn't want John back? I knew that. I didn't want him back. Why would I be entertaining counseling that he's not even taking serious enough to go to Starbucks and have? You need to go to Starbucks and have this counseling session because clearly you having it at your girlfriend's house makes no sense to me whatsoever for you to be saying that you want to fight for your family, right? Doesn't make any sense. So fast forward to him coming to the house to get all of his things out. I think that he was angry. So John was a musician. He had a lot of things in our garage, and so basically it was like one of those things where if you don't come get it, I'm gonna sell it. And because I'm so illiterate to how much this stuff is supposed to cost, I'm probably about to give the people a really good deal, right? Because at this point he's been gone for a while. It's time for you to get all of your belongings so that I can function the way that I need to function here. So he's very angry. We're not having a great rapport. Like it was very topsy turvy. His family wasn't really around, and my children were not even around his family clearly because and again, I say I don't know if they knew about this woman before or not. All I know is this woman was coming to their house for the holidays. Clearly, if you're inviting someone to your house for the holidays, your son coming out of a almost 20-year relationship with the woman that you've known him to be with for the last 20 years, which was his wife, where they had 3 kids, and you're inviting his mistress because technically we are not legally divorced yet. You're inviting his mistress to your house to break bread on the holidays. It looks very strange. Again, I'm not saying that they knew or didn't know. Maybe in their mind, they're like, he's moving on. She's probably moving on. He's already found somebody. Let's move on with her. Maybe. I don't know. I just have to think about if I was a mother and that was my son, because I am a mother, but my son isn't married, clearly. But if I was a mother in that particular position, how would I have handled that? But then we have to think about this is the same mother who told some of the family members that they were not allowed to talk to me. She sent out a text message saying that they were not allowed to talk to me. This is the same mother who went and scandalized my name and said that I left John because he was sick. So could I really expect anything different? And it's not to make her look bad at all. It's just, could I expect much of anything different, right? So fast forward to we're finalizing things for the divorce. Divorce is coming up. The divorce is about to be finalized, and the holidays are coming back around again. And so my children get invited to an event that John's family is having. John didn't invite them to this event. John never invited them to the event because he always wanted to bring his girlfriend around. And one thing that I said to John was, if you're going to have a woman around the kids, you're going to have to make the introduction. You're going to have to do it. Like, there is no other way around it. You got to do it. He never wanted to make the introduction. So therefore, he was not supposed to have kids around her. So when they were having things, he never invited his children. She never got to stay back. She was always there. He never invited his children because he didn't want to make the introduction. So his sister invited the kids to come to something that they were having for the holidays. And so the kids get there and they don't really know her. Right? They've seen her, but they don't really know her. They know what kind of car she drives because if you backtrack to when someone came to our house to pick John up, when John said that it was his somebody that he plays for wife, it was a lie. It was her. He bought her to the house to pick him up at that time. And they found out because she came to the sister's house and it was the exact same car. right? So we put these two things together. So they don't really know her. They just know, kind of what she looks like or however. So when they get there, she's with the mom. She kind of gets up and walks to a different table. They sit down at the table with the mom. And so then John's sister gets ready to sing, and they ask my son to, be background with her for her with the girlfriend. Yeah, you heard me right. So at this point, my son lets me know, like, because in the beginning, when he was up there, he was like, why does she look familiar? Because they don't really know her. You know what I'm saying? And so when he realized what was going on, he was like, yeah, no, this is not cool. My daughter called me. I was like, you guys can leave. They left, came back. So at this point I'm heated, right? Because not only are you being disrespectful, but you breaking the code of bringing the girlfriend around after I've clearly asked you not to have her around the children, right? Unless you're ready to bring her to me to have an introduction. Like, clearly I'm still angry, okay? I'll be lying if I say I ain't still angry at this point. I'm still angry, right? I don't even want you anymore, but it's the principle that you played my face, and now you're in this relationship with her. Like, this is not okay for me. But then you bring her around my children, and you got my children singing background with her. Like, are you kidding me? We're not doing that. So I call John. Of course, John doesn't answer. So I send John this text, and I'm going off in the text message, right? Yeah, y'all, I don't even have to reread this text because clearly you can probably imagine some of the things that I'm saying, right? And so I sent his sister a text as well because I called her. She didn't answer the phone either. So I sent them both a text message because they didn't answer the phone. And so neither one of them responded to me. Neither one of them responded to me. So the next day, the mom posts on Facebook pictures from the event. She posted a picture with her and her daughter and the girlfriend together. Then she posted a picture of the daughter and the girlfriend together. And I knew all of this was to get an arouse out of me. And then she posted a picture of him and the girlfriend together in their matching pajamas, right? And so I clearly don't even know if I knew how angry I really was until I saw that. Because then I felt like you're poking the bear. Like, God, you said be quiet, and I was quiet. But how long did you mean be quiet? Because you didn't really put no time frame on it. And I don't remember you telling me that I had to be quiet through everything. I just remember you saying being quiet in that moment. So I'm over here like, so God, was I supposed to be quiet just in that moment? Am I still supposed to be quiet now? Like, God, clearly you want me to say something. I know you want me to say something, right? I'm saying all of this to God when clearly I'm not waiting for a response. I'm talking to him. I ain't listening for him to talk to me back, right? I'm just putting it all out there. And so I remember seeing it, and I'm just bubbling, right? I'm like furious, right? Because I'm thinking about all of the things that I hadn't dealt with, all of the feelings, all of the emotions, all of the things that I just had not dealt with. Because I felt like I wasn't the cause of our demise in our marriage, I was like, I'm going to be able to walk away and be totally fine. Like, he's going to be hurt. He's going to be mad. He's going to be angry. And all of these emotions he's going to be the one that misses me. Like, I'm going to be okay because I did my part. I gave what I was supposed to give. Like, clearly, I'm not going to feel this. And I convinced myself that I wasn't going to feel it and that I didn't deserve to feel it. And I suppressed feeling it. Like, if I felt like I was going to feel it, I just suppressed it. Like, no, I'm not feeling this because I don't deserve to feel this. I did what was right, right? And so clearly, because that was my stance in that moment, I hadn't dealt with all of the things that I really felt, like all of the anger and the hurt and the embarrassment, like all of the like I'm reaching out and I'm crying and I'm praying for people to pray for a husband who clearly had been out here in these streets and had a whole girlfriend for 2 years. For 2 years he had a whole girlfriend. 2 years, right? So I'm embarrassed. I am clearly embarrassed. So all of these feelings and all of these emotions, I feel they're like coming to a head for me. And so I remember going to bed one particular night, and I go to bed and something wakes me up in my sleep. And I'm not going to say it was the Holy Spirit. If it was the Holy Spirit woke me up to pray, but I didn't listen. I went the opposite way, right? I always like to think about when you got the two people on the shoulder. You got the devil on one shoulder, you got the angel on one shoulder, right? And the angel is like, oh my God, you need to do the right thing. Sharon, you feel something, you need to go pray about it. You need to go give it to your father, baby. Go give it to your father, go pray. When the devil is like, girl, I know you mad. He embarrassed you. Look at his mama poking the bear. Like this, it sounds crazy, but this is what I was feeling, right? This is clearly what I was feeling. And so instead of praying and being like the angel, I took the devil on and I retaliated, right? And so it was so crazy because I'm laying in my bed. Like I said, I woke up and I got all of these thoughts in my brain. And then it's almost like a download, right? It's almost like somebody was downloading something to me for me to write down. And clearly I wrote it down on social media, right? It wasn't the Holy Spirit, I tell you that much. So I come back writing this post. I repost the picture that his mom had put up because here's the thing. I wasn't friends with his mom. We had already had exchanged words, so we had already blocked each other by this time. So one of his aunts sent me the picture, right? I know they thought it was my mom because my mom was still friends with them. I know they thought it was somebody in my family. They deleted all the people who they thought was connected to me because clearly they thought it was somebody that was connected to me. But little did they know it was somebody that was connected to them. It was one of his aunts that sent me the picture. How messy was that, right? Was that messy? Oh, absolutely. So the aunt sent me the picture and I reposted it, right? I sent it to my sister because if you know anything about my sister don't care, right? She don't care. She is filterless. You hear me? So I sent it to my sister, and clearly my sister reposted it, and she talked noise, right? So then I took the picture and I reposted it, and I came back with this long message, and I just kind of put him on blast. I put on blast why we weren't married anymore. I put on blast some of the things that I had found, how she thought that she was number one, but clearly he was cheating on us both. I even talked about his mom and how she reposted the picture because she's a pastor and what kind of example she was setting, and how she was mad because I had the courage to walk away from a relationship that she could never walk away from. Like, I put all of these things out, and I mean, I may be talking it like it's soft, but when I tell you I put it out and it was heavy, and I feel like before I could press post and before it hit, like my phone was ringing, dinging, text messages, inboxes, like all of the things was coming through. And I was so like, listen, I don't know if I felt a release. I don't know if it was like an adrenaline release for me doing it. I don't know, because clearly not immediately after I done it, like maybe a few hours down the line, right? Like maybe a few hours down the line. I remember even talking to my bishop. It wasn't even right after I talked to my bishop. It was a little later on down the line, even after I talked to my bishop. Okay? But I remember feeling like, Sharon, you hit a low with this. Cause you're better than this. You're better than that. That's how I felt. Later down the line. Not right now. Later down the line, right? And I mean, feel like after a day or so, I deleted it. I took the post down. By that time, it had got so much traction. People had done screenshot it about 75,000 times, so it really didn't even matter. But after that, I took it down. But I remember feeling like I hit a low with that because I went to a level that was completely out of character for me. And so I'm making the point of how we go through situations and we go through things in our life and we find ourselves responding out of character for us because we're refusing to do the necessary work that we need to do. Now, I'm not saying that, and I feel like all things work together. I feel like There's never a season wasted. So even in my season outside, like that's going to help somebody. I don't know who it's going to help, but it's going to help somebody, right? I believe that God always has a way to bring us back. And I believe that that was one of the ways, because after that low that I felt, I had to cry out to God in a place that I had never gone with Him, right? And I don't think I've ever been at that place with God before. Because clearly, when I felt all of these things when I was younger, I can remember not even knowing about God in a way of relationship. I knew about God by way of religion. So I knew the religious God, I didn't know the relational God. And so I didn't know that I could go to Him, because when I was growing up, I was told, you're not allowed to question God. You're not allowed to take things to God. You're not allowed to do that. You don't get to do that. And if you're going through anything in your life, it's because you're sinning and you're not living right. So you need to check yourself, right? That's how I grew up. So that's what I knew. So I never knew about this relational God that I could go to and that I could cry to and that I could fall in the arms of, literally, and He would be there for me. I didn't know about that until that moment. And I believe that God allowed me to hit that place because it's at that very, very, very low place where God met me exactly where I was, and He started to bring me up. So many times when I would fall on a step, or I would fall on a bench. Like I might fall 2 levels from the ground, or I might fall 4 levels from the ground. And so I never hit that place, that very low place where I needed God the most. I didn't hit that. And so at that moment, I hit rock bottom, and God met me there. He met me there. And so I'm gonna stop here as far as the journey, because there's so much more to this story. Listen, I don't have to rush it, right? I'm clearly trying to give you as much as I can. There's so many more details to this, but I want to give you all of the details that I believe matter in this story. But there's so much more, right? But it wasn't, I want you to understand that hitting that place for me changed my life. Did I immediately go back to God and get my life together and like never go outside again? No, no, not at all. But it was at that place where I knew that I could come to God just as I was. I didn't have to pretend. I didn't care what people thought, because at this point everybody knows I'm divorced. If people didn't know that I was not, like, most of all of the people knew anyway by this point, because like I said, his mom had already blasted me. She had already put it out there. So everybody at this point knew that John and I were not together anymore. But if they didn't know, that post solidified it for me. I had people coming to me. I had friends of his, or people that I thought was his friends, coming to me saying, "Oh, we thought that you knew because like she would come to some of John's shows. Like we just thought that that's the kind of relationship you guys had." What? I had some of these same friends was like, "Hey, John and I was never really friends. So, if you need somebody to talk to, like I'm here." It's like, yeah, I don't do the homies. But we wasn't really friends. It doesn't matter. You guys presented yourselves as friends whenever I was around. Whether you real friends or not, they ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't do friends. But Sharon, we wasn't friends. Like, I don't even like John for real. Okay, well, go tell John that, because it doesn't matter for me, right? But it wasn't into to those moments where people were coming out of the woodworks. I had preachers who had preached at his mom's church, who was coming to me, telling me things, who was saying things to me, who had been wanting to say things to me for so long. It was like I gave them permission with that post to say what they really thought, what they really felt, or what they really had seen. It was moments like that was like, oh wow. I had people that I went to school with who was like, hey, I saw John out with a woman before. I wasn't sure. I saw John on dating apps. I didn't know if you guys were still together or not. Like, I had people coming to me saying some of the darnest things that I probably would have never had known, right? So at this point, if you didn't know, trust me when I say you knew by the time that post came out. It had been screenshotted so many times, like it wasn't even funny. Like, I'm trying to tell you, like, people were sending the post to me like I wasn't the one who wrote it. It's like, what? I wrote that. I know what to say. Yeah, it was out there. But I'm saying all of that to say, like, we can operate from the lowest version of ourselves. And in that moment, I can admit that. Right? Like, there are times when you're in your life and you're like, you know that you're not your best self, but you can't say that out loud. I can admit that that post, I was operating at the lowest version of myself because I was so hurt. And all of the things that I had felt from the time I walked away, I still felt that. But I never dealt with it. I got on dating apps. I started going out. I started drinking. I started hanging out with people. Like, I was in these streets. So I didn't have time to process or to think or to even deal with the things that were really in front of me. Like, and when things would happen and then things would bring me back to that place where I have to remember what I'm really going through, then I just go out. Or I just call somebody and talk to them, or just get a release in whatever way that was for me at the time. But it was like I was avoiding dealing with what I knew that I had to deal with, which what I knew would never go away until I did what I needed to do. And so my encouragement to you is, if you find yourself in this situation, in any parts of it, right? You may not have come out of a marriage. Nobody may not have triggered you in that way. It may not even be a man and woman relationship. It might be a friend relationship. It might be a parental relationship. It might be a work relationship or a work situation. It could be any of the things. But if we don't deal with what's really in front of us, this is how we will operate every single time at the lowest version of ourselves. And we don't want to do that. Why do we have to go there? Why do we have to operate from there? Why do we have to allow that to be a part of our identity or who we are, or a part of another trauma, another trauma part or another trauma piece in our lives? We don't have to do that. We don't have to do it. And so why should we subject ourselves to that? Why should we do that? We don't have to do that. And so I want to encourage you. I just want to encourage you. I'm so grateful for that moment for me, because it was in that moment that I knew that I needed God, right? We say all the time, like, God, I need you. Like, God, I need you. But until you hit that moment where you know you really need God, and you know that you can't do it without him, you can't make it without him, you can't even get up from this place that you are in if he doesn't intervene, then you know you need God, and you start to operate from the place of needing him instead of operating from that place of him being convenient when it's convenient for you. And so in that moment, I knew that I needed God. And so first I had to tell God the truth. I laid myself out to him and I told him the truth. How I felt, that I was angry and I was mad. I had to be honest with him, because it wasn't until I could be honest that I could be open and be vulnerable and be completely transparent. I had to be that. I had to do that. I couldn't not do it. I had to do it. And when I finally did it, it opened up a relationship with God that clearly has changed my entire life. That relationship changed my life. And so that was the reason for me even telling you that part, because I needed you to know what that turning factor was for me. Like I said, I didn't completely go inside, right? That was the turning factor for me. But then there was another incident that happened. Like I was on my way back in, and it's so funny because the enemy knows, right? And I'm like, clearly, God, I know that you're calling me back in, and I'm going back in. I'm rededicating my life. I'm getting myself back on track. I know what you're calling me to do. And then a situation happens to me within the realm of my church family that almost deterred like my whole journey again. And I was on my way in, and when it happened, it slapped me in the face because I wasn't even prepared for it. And it slapped me in my face, and I had no other choice but to go back, right? I was like, okay. I thought I was ready. Maybe I need a little bit more time. And God was like, no, you need to come to me. And so I found myself going to God about the situation, clearly wanting to run away from the situation by going back outside. And God is like, nope, nope. So would I have my moments, and when I have my slip ups, and would I find myself outside sometimes when I clearly needed to be inside? Absolutely. I definitely did. Oh, without question, I did. But I knew what track God was having me on. I knew what he was doing on the inside of me, and I was no longer fighting it. I was no longer fighting him about his plan for my life as my creator. I am only here because you have thought enough of me to put a plan and a purpose inside of my mother's womb concerning me. I am only here because you thought about creating me. I am only here because of that. Clearly. So how dare I take your plan and think that it has to come second to my plan that I have for me, and I'm only here because of you. So there was a surrender that came into my life at that moment that I didn't even know existed. I didn't realize I could surrender in that way. I didn't know that I could, because I was always the strong one. I was always the one handling things. I was always the one who had to have things together. I was always the one that people called on to fix things. Still, sometimes to this day, I'm that one. But at that moment, I didn't have to be her. I could give all of those things to my Father. And he clearly took them from me. And he walked me on a journey that changed my life for the rest of my life. I can't wait to get into that with you. Guys, listen, I am Sharon Tillman. I thank you guys so much. I had such a time with this, right? Not the podcast in itself, but just God saying share the journey. And for so long, I didn't do it because I'm like, okay, clearly, God, once I put it out there, people are going to think I'm attacking them, because if I'm going to tell the journey, I have to tell the truth. And then I'm like, I don't want any smoke. I don't want no beef. I don't want no. And God is like, listen, you're looking at it from the wrong way. There is a way for you to tell your story, to highlight me and to glorify me and not make it about other people. The truth is the truth. What happened is what happened. We can't change that. But unless you're out there intentionally attacking people and you're not focused on the glory of me and what I did, because this journey is all about how God transformed my identity. It's all about identity. I had no idea that God was going to do all of this to get me to this place. Like, nobody could have never, ever told me that. Like, ever. I had no clue. But I am so grateful and I am so honored that God loved me enough that he would not just do it for me, but he would equip me with what I needed to help others to do it for them. And I am forever grateful. And so I can't wait to share the rest of this journey with you. I can't wait to share the rest of this story with you. And I want to help you in identifying who you are and who you've been called to be. And no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what your life has been, no matter what your traumas are attached to, and no matter what you've experienced in your path, I want you to know that the plan and the purpose that God has for your life, the plan and the purpose that he put inside of your mother's womb, even before you was here, still exists. And the identity that God wants you to walk in is the identity of who He's called you to be. And so none of those other things matter. It's experiences, but it doesn't alter who you are. And so I'm so grateful for the opportunity to share with you not just my identity, to share with you not just my journey, but to help influence you, um, to help you embrace your own, to see your own, and to walk fully in your own identity according to your Father. Listen, I am Sharon Tillman, and I love you guys for real. Until next time, I'll see ya later.